Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Messina 1347. Let's check it out. A lot of setup with this one, but it is fairly easy. First off, you're going to take all of your A tiles by the number of players. So if it's a 4-player game, you wouldn't play with this one. You're going to line them up to A's, which A's look like this, B's, and then a stack of C's. What you're going to do is take all the A's for 4 players. This is for 2, 3, or 4 players, so that would be in it. And then line them up in the area as shown in the instruction manual. Then, before you do that, you're also going to shuffle these B's and put one B in with the A's randomly in there. Then you're going to shuffle all the B's and then the C's, and then leave them in a stack somewhere in the game board. You'll have your round token here. Each player will have pieces on each one of these tracks. You'll randomly select who's going first this round. You'll shuffle all these tiles with the beige, I guess, background according to the emblem that's on the player board there, and then you're going to flip the first one over of each of these, and then you're going to shuffle the darker brown colors and put them just above each one of those same emblems there, and just leave those for now. You're going to shuffle up all the little stick houses here, put them in their areas outlined on the board, and then you're going to take these wagons. They're labeled 1 through 5, so you stack them to where the 1s are first, the 5s are at the bottom, and put 2 stacks 1 through 5 on each one of those areas there. You're also going to put 2 of your own meeples here. You'll be starting with 3 of your own, but first player will start at the bottom of the 0 track, second player at the top of the 0 track, third player at the bottom of the number 1 victory point, and fourth player on top of the number 1 point. Also, for number 3 and number 4 players in a 3 or 4 player game, you give them 1 coin as well. There are different denominations of goods you'll have just over to the side of the board. They are flame, double flame, all this money here in 1, 3s, and 5s, wood, rats, and plague tokens. Now, if you're playing a 2-player game, it'd be 16 plague cubes. 3-player game, 18, and 4 players, just throw all the cubes in there. You'll have stacks of each one of the type of residents you can have that'll go in the city over to here. Then you're going to stack these 3 boat tiles in 1, 2, and 3, and then stack them in order on top like that. Also have this little stack here with the nautical theme on there. It's going to tell you where these boats are going to be docking every round. On your player board, you're going to have 3 cubes here at the bottom of this track. You're going to have your 3 little discs here matching the icons on the board. There is an A or B side. The B side to both of these are advanced, so you may want to start off on the A side first. Then, of course, you'll have these little city tokens here. Everyone will start the game with 4. After that, you are ready to start. Gameplay is easy. You'll just look at the iconography here and do the action. So the first thing we do is we call on a ship. So I flip over this token here. It says, hey, bring a ship that shows the port with this emblem on it. So I look and see, there it is up there. So I take ship number 1, flip it over, and I will add a plague cube on it, and then bring it right in here. Now, after that, we're going to do the plague. And what you do, you take this little wheel, and this is the coolest thing about it, then you're going to turn it to the left. And then you're going to put cubes on any emblem that shows the rat facing right. There are other ones where, of course, right here, the rat facing left, and then there's other ones where the rat is just standing up. Now, after you've set up all your play cubes here, then you're going to put each one of these citizens on these colored tiles. So, for instance, the nuns will go on all the light blue colors that you see there. All the little craftsmen or workers here will go on the white squares, and the third player will go this guy will go on all the yellow squares. And you'll put all those citizens out on the board, and then you're ready to go. Next, in player order, each player is going to take one of their meeples and place them anywhere in the city. I should note that this little square right here does not include the dock. If they were here and they wanted to get access to the boat, they would have to move to the dock there and claim that boat. Just to kind of show you how to read some of these actions here, first thing you would do, if the purple player played here, what they would get to do, first off, they could take this guy. Now, if there isn't any plague cubes here, what they can do is immediately put it on their player board. So they grab this token, look where he goes into the green section here, and they put him in any one of these little squares here they'd want. So maybe I just put him like that. Now, if I had grabbed a player from this player board here, there is plague there, so he is infected, and he would go into one of my infected buildings. And as you see, each player has 4. He'll go into the number 1 slot. Now, for the next 2 turns, he'll move up here for this first turn, and for a second turn, he'll get quarantine will be over, and then he can go up into my regular player board. Now I do have the option to fight the plague if I want to. What you would have to do is pay 1 fire. By doing so, you remove the plague there, yet that person still goes into quarantine because he was already infected with the plague. So once you burn the fire, you will go up the track like so and claim any reward that's at the top. So in this case, I would get 1 coin. In this case, I'd go up one of the tracks. In this case, I do one of the little action movements on my player board. Later on, you'll get bonuses and victory points as well. Now the last thing I can do is, after maybe I've claimed this guy, burned the plague there, I can also claim this reward here of 1 wood and 1 fire. Each of these do things and they're very simple. This one gives you 2 coins, 2 fire tokens. That one lets you move up the red track. This lets you upgrade one of your workers. Basically an upgrade is flipping anyone over and having them a little bit extra special to work in buildings and also give you victory points. And then the saw icon right here is build. The only other icon I haven't talked about is the scroll icon. You'll also find this on some of the scoring tracks. But the scroll icon lets you move up any one of these tracks here, and this will be in-game points. Depending on how many buildings, boats, or cities you have, you can get some in-game points by moving up. It has a picture of a scroll here too. So what happens when I go into an area and I don't have any flame? Because you cannot claim this first and then burn it. You have to have flame when you enter in the square. Well, if you don't, you can still take this advantage, but you've been infected. And if that's the case, you get 1 wooden rat that you'll add to your player board. Now these count for negative points at the end of the game, and I'll explain that later. But if you're ever on a place where you can't fight the flame, but you really want to take the action or save that person, then you're going to get a rat token. Real quick, I want to talk about the buildings you can build. All you have to do is pay the resource over to the side. It's going to be coin, wood, or a combo of each. Then you have to have that type of worker who is not in quarantine out here on your board, or has moved out of quarantine, to move into this building to let it take effect. And for this, I would only get 1 wood. But if I had an upgraded employee here, I get 2 wood and a victory point. Now, there are a place on the board here where you can put up to 6 buildings. Also, you can upgrade your little sick house buildings like so. So for instance, every time he moves to the second spot or moves out, I would get this reward. So in this case, I would get a flame and a victory point. And each one of these sick houses do different things, and you can have up to 4 on your player board. Now you can have an empty building just sitting there, but it's just not going to get you any resources until you have someone to place in there and start getting it. How the game goes, at the end of the round, everyone lays down their meeples, and you got this little handy dandy thing. First off, you'll move people from the sick house and basically score any resources that you have on any one of these buildings, as long as they're manned. This one doesn't have to be manned, but does have to have someone in it. And by the way, you may not put 2 people in quarantine at the same time. They must go into different sheds here. What you're going to do next is you're going to move the marker down for the first round, and then it's going to tell you who's going first. For this instance, it's, hey, whoever's ahead on this track. Of course, the person, if it's a tie, the person who's on top would go first. And it just changes the way of who goes first each round. Now, to make that not get boring, they have this other little tab that you can cover up here that will change the order and structure of who goes first, just in case you want to. And then it says, hey, reveal another boat. Bring out a tile, and you'll bring out a tile next to that square where that boat was. All right, so a new tile will come in each round thereafter. You're also going to turn the wheel once again to see where the plague is going and where new people are going in. Now, before all that happens though, you do need to remove any people who are still around who have the plague on them. So for instance, this person and that person would be dead because they have plague on them and no one went to save them. So sad they'd go back into their corners there. And then you'd repopulate and replague with everyone. Yes, there can be 2 plague cubes on a tile. However, if you ever run out of plague cubes during this, you just don't put them out there. So if you don't have enough to fulfill the order of plague cubes, you just run out and you just stop right there until someone defeats some of the plague, and then maybe the next round you can put more out there. Now I should talk about the actions you can take on your own player board as well. Whenever you see this icon here on the tracks here, or if you go to any of these little areas here, it'll kind of tell you, these 3 right here, will let you go ahead and move that certain marker 1 space on the track. So let's say I had one of these little actions here where I got to move this token. I'd move it down one space right over here, and I could take any one of them. There's little pathways to show you either one of these actions here. So I can build or I can upgrade a person. Once I've done that, I'm done. Next time, and I could do this for the other ones, I can move them around the board as well too, around their respective little areas. But the next time I go, I can move it to the left or the right. And in that case, I could take any one of these three actions, whichever one I want. And now I can get a coin and a wood if I wanted to, or do another upgrade, or do another build. Same thing would be here. The case right here would be I could do one over on this side and one right here as well. And then do that one more time. And then at the end, if I ever get to the center here, I can do three of any actions anywhere on my board, meaning even these nuns over here, I could generate some of their actions too, even though I'm right here. After that, your guy will go to the center and he won't be of use to you anymore. Now I should point out that on this bottom track, there is an area here that you can upgrade one of your player tokens. If you ever get to this number 2 here, what you're going to do is flip this over and it says, hey, ×2 there. So what does that mean? Well, that means now, let's flip this over. Now I can take both of these actions if I wanted to. Or when I'm around here, I can take any 2 of these actions. And if I was here or here, I could take 2 of these actions and 1 of these. Okay, it doesn't double over here. It's only just 3 of any, but that's what doubling one of these markers would be, and you can double 2 of them in the game. Now, as the game keeps moving through the round, each time you'll do the same thing except for when it gets here. In this instance, you will bring out 2 ships, and then you'll bring out double the amount of plague and double the amount of people. And on the 5th round here, you bring out 2 more ships, and then it has this little emblem here. This is very important. What you do at this point is you take away any of these beige buildings, remove them, and replace them with the dark brown and flip over the top one like so. Now, this one has, these usually have lightning bolts on them, which means they're one-time uses, but they yield a great benefit there of what you can get, determining on what you have, what players you have that can fill those positions. I should mention also in the 5th round, fire has to be fought with double fire tokens instead. And whenever you do that, you're also going to score an additional 2 points. As you see in the last round, no plague comes out, no citizens come out. You still have to fight it with double flame. However, you do get 2 victory points. I also should mention that in the game, if ever you were burning up some of the plague, you could also spend extra flame to burn next to a tile. So for instance, let's say red came over here and they said, hey, I want to burn this one, but I also want to burn this one over here. Well, then they go up the plague track twice because they burn 2 different cubes. Now, I should also mention when the gameplay happens, you see how he stood up? When you stand up, you can take the same action on the tile that you're on, or you can just move one and take that action there, unless another player is already standing up there. If this player's laying down, then they haven't activated it, so I can activate it first, and then purple player will not be able to activate it. Now, what happens if you want to move more than 1 tile? Well, you pay 1 coin for any additional movement. And if there's no place you can move, let's say poor purple has been locked out of moving anywhere, and when he stands up, unless he spends a coin and maybe doesn't have any money. Well, in this case, what you do is remove your pawn from the board, gain 1 coin from the bank, and then on the next round, place him anywhere into the city and take your action. One more additional thing you'll want to do in the 5th and 6th round, or earlier if you want to, is build one of these cities. Basically, you're repopulating the city that's been damaged by the plague. What you're doing is taking one of these and you're going to pay the cost that's at the top of the tile. So for instance, I'd have to pay 1 of these men and 1 of these men, and then I could claim it. I will get 7 victory points, plus from here on at the end of the game, and plus from here on out, anyone, even me who activates this here, will get 2 victory points. So it's good to do it a little bit early, but bad because if ever there's a plague token put on here, you will automatically get a rat because you kind of own that city, you're responsible for it. And if there's 2 plague tokens, that's fine, you don't get an extra rat. But when it's, let's say someone cleared out the plague and then again it got hit, well, you would get another rat token for that. But a small price to pay for building these buildings. And of course, they're all various victory points in the game, and the ones that are kind of higher. So for instance, this one here requires a wood. 3 characters, one of them, the nun, has to be an upgraded worker, but then you'll get 13 points at the end of the game. But I almost forgot, before putting a city down on that tile to bring those people over, you're going to need a wagon. This is why you need to build wagons. You can use each wagon once per round. So once you've used it, you'll just flip it over and turn it over for the next round. So if you want to build 2 cities, you need to have at least 2 wagons on hand if you want to score them that round. When you build wagons, usually it's for wood and coin, of course. You'll get the victory points immediately, and then this is how you'll be transporting people to build your cities. Like I said, you need wagons each round. They would reset, but they can only populate 1 tile here. But that's what the wagons are for. At the bottom of the player board, it says here, if you gain your second boat, you get to do one of your little individual actions on the board here. When you gain your 4th boat, you get to do it. And if you gain your 6th boat, you get to do another little free action on your board. Those actions can add up. I should also mention that when the boats come in, each one of them will have a plague on them. If you are not able to cure that plague, the plague will go away anyway, but you'll gain a rat and you can grab the tile. I should mention that on the second track, there are 2 meeples here, which give you options. If you pass those areas, you'll be able to have more workers in a single round, and how you'll start them off is once you gain them, you can play them that round on the board for an extra action. Now, at the end of the game, after 6 rounds, what you're going to be doing is tallying up a lot of points. First off, you're going to, of course, tally up any cities you have, any victory points you've garnered on this track here. You're also going to take away your victory points, or take away tracks here before you score that top track. Any rat that you have will move you down 1 on the track. So if I got 4 rats, 1, 2, 3, 4, oh no, I didn't get any victory points instead. But also, rats can add up to give you negative points in the game. They give you this little player aid that tells you, hey, that's how many points you'll lose. So if you have 10 rats, you're losing 21 points. You're doing a piss poor job here. Also, 3 of any of these resources, coins, double flame, not just 2, but double flame tokens, and wood. Any 3 would equal 1 victory point here. You also will, of course, here it says add up all the tracks there. Add up your scrolls here as well. And if you see here, for instance, this one was for boats. However many boats I have, I multiply that times 4. If I had cities, if I was up here, I can multiply cities by 3. And if I had buildings, I can multiply that by whatever I had here. So let's say 1, counting up all these and those buildings that I have that, of course, these that would be occupied. Once that's done, you add up all your victory points. Whoever has the most victory points wins. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Well, one thing I forgot to mention is when you're scoring at the end of the game, if you pass the track for 50, you just put a meeple on that 50 spot. If you pass it again, you put another meeple on the 100 spot and get accused of cheating. No one's ever come close to crossing 100 in this game, at least in my games I've played so far. I found this game for like 20 bucks on a flash sale. I decided to pick it up. It looked kind of interesting. There's a lot of moving pieces, but you will understand it after a few times. I will give you a pro tip. Use your own player board as well as you can and buy buildings. Buy buildings. Buy those sick houses. So those sick houses are generating income for you. You have to have that. You have to have buildings. I think the first time we played it, the first 3 rounds, no one had built a building, and then we started seeing, oh wait, that's how you get the resources, because you'll never have enough resources and there'll never be enough actions in the game. I should also mention another thing. You get to move up that track automatically by paying as many coin as you have meeples. So if you had 3 meeples, you could pay 3 coin and keep moving up whatever track you get to move up that round. Even though to this day, no one in my gaming group, the times we've played it, just a couple of times we played it, no one has done that. Coins and everything are so precious. Everything's so precious in this game. But I do enjoy this game. I do. It took me a while. After we played it, I was like, okay, let's try it again. We did it again. I was like, all right, one more time. Let's do it again. And now we're getting the hang of it. It's feeling pretty good. I'll be honest. I think this is going to come to the table a little bit more, which is good. Good. I mean, this is maybe a top 100 game. But it is growing on me with each and every play. And like I said, I love the people at Rio Grande Games, so I'm glad to see. I don't have many of their games in my collection because I don't really like most of them, but this one is a very good one. It's worth regular price too. It's a really clean game, a lot of strategies, a lot of paths to victory. We were each doing something different to kind of work our own little engine there. Oh, I should mention one other thing though. None of us have ever gotten a rat. Even though I don't think the penalty is that bad, moving down that track, yes, you'll lose a handful of points at the end of the game, but what we're more scared about is, man, you get like 5 or 6 rats, you're losing, that many points or more, and that as close as our games have been, that could be the, difference between first place and last place. But I think I see some of the advantages of go ahead and getting rats by going on tiles that have the plague, even though you can't fight it because you want to do that action. I guess there's a trade-off there. I don't know. everyone in my gaming group is afraid to find out. All right, gamers, that's it for now. Till next time, you know what to do. Game on!